everybody. Welcome to our Sunday talk show, The World This Week. The missing airplane is driving the world crazy. It will take a long time until we know what happened. Crimea is Russian. It's a done deal. No more Twitter in Turkey. Prime Minister Erdogan is losing it. The universe. Harvard scientists have the strongest proof yet of the Big Bang Theory. And Paris, the city of lights, will soon be a city with a female mayor for the first time. These are some of the issues we'll touch upon this Sunday. We'll talk Washington, Jerusalem first. The peace process between Israel and the Palestinians is all but dead. With us, Alon Pinkas, former Consul General of Israel in New York. Hello.
Hello, Jacob.
You agree?
That it's dead?
Yeah.
It's in a self-induced coma.
And why is that?
Because both sides seem to have profound disincentives to proceed. Both sides seem to lack the leadership, the courage, and the willingness to take risks to proceed. And because both sides feel that this is a zero-sum game, that if they yield, if they risk, if they compromise, then they lose. What worries me is not the effort or the lack of success. What worries me in the long run, and by long run I mean 2, 3, 4 years, I don't mean 2 decades, is that this is probably the last Secretary of State that will be willing to invest so much time, energy, resources, and political capital. Oh, obviously, the president hasn't even meddled in this, has not even inserted himself into the process. And when everyone thought 10 days ago that he would, by virtue of Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Abbas's trips, the crisis in Crimea effectively distracted him and took away his entire attention span.
Right, which brings us in a way to Israel's defense minister, Moshe Ya'alon, who again was able to shake things with some remarks that maybe exposed really the friction between Jerusalem and Washington.
I think he should be fired. I think he should have been fired
by the Prime Minister.
I think he should have been fired not because of what he said, not because of the legitimacy of the opinions that he expressed, not because of his integrity, he has a lot, and not because of his CV, his curriculum vitae, which is impressive. This is deep, fundamental lack of judgment. In the midst of a crisis in the Ukraine, the defense minister of the state of Israel stands up and says twice within 3 weeks the most derogatory, insulting, and disrespectful things about the U.S. Now, that does not mean that the U.S. is always right. Far from it. 7 billion people live on the planet, Yaakov. The last person the U.S. expected to stand up and say things like this about Ukraine, about China, about the Middle East, is the defense minister of Israel.
Well, some say, he's a political rookie. Maybe he apologized somehow.
Fine. He did not. He apologized after 3 days, the first instance. Did not learn his lessons. His learning curve apparently is flawed. If not fired by the Prime Minister should have at least publicly demanded an apology from him, publicly distanced himself from Ya'alon, and publicly demanded that Ya'alon apologize to the U.S. administration. There is a major difference, Yaakov, between the first time in which he personally ad hominem insulted the Secretary of State, which was bad enough, but it was in a closed session. He didn't know he was being quoted. Fine, mitigating circumstances.
Are there going to be ramifications?
I think there will be. Not immediate, but he will not be taken seriously in Washington. And when the defense minister of the state of Israel is not being taken seriously at the Pentagon, CIA, State Department, and obviously the White House, that's bad news.
Let's move to Paris politics. It has
Fun,
much
right?
more
nicer.
charm. Yeah.
Go.
Alon Pinkas, thank you very much.
My
and
pleasure.
hello, Steve Jordan.
Nice to be here.
Steve, you cover the elections for I24 News, the French channel. One thing is for sure, we're going to have a female mayor in Paris, right?
Apparently, we're going to have a female, yeah. For the first time.
First time. Who are the candidates?
So we have two different profiles, two very different characters. On the one hand, we have Nathalie Kosciusko-Morizet, which is right-wing. She was the former Minister of Ecology under Sarkozy's government, and she was also the spokesman of Sarkozy during the election of 2012. On the other side, we have Anne Hidalgo, which is more secretive, But she's very tough in negotiation, and she's also very close to the former mayor, to the current mayor, Bertrand Delanoë.
So she's like number two.
She's number two,
number
yeah,
two.
In PS.
You have some polls. Obviously, they're voting today, but any.
The polls say, it has been saying for 1 year that Anne Hidalgo is like in advance, like very on the top. And so the last poll, which was like 2 days ago, said that Anne Hidalgo would win with 52% versus 48%.
52-48. Well, it could be a very close call.
Yeah, it can be close, but like the polls say it has been 1 year, so they say the same. So
why is she more popular in the polls?
she's more popular because she's seen as the follower of Bertrand Delanoë. She's going to continue his politics.
And Parisians are happy with his politics?
Most of them, not everyone, but most of them. Paris has changed for the 20 last years, so they seem to be happy with that.
Now, we remember Jacques Chirac, who used to be mayor of Paris and later became president of Paris. Any chance that that might happen?
It's difficult. Jacques Chirac, it was in 1977, and the political context was totally different. And the next election, the next presidential election, will be in 2017, and we can have Sarkozy, who's gonna compete for it, run for it, so a comeback of Sarkozy. We talk about it a lot in France, actually. We also have François Fillon, the former Prime Minister of France, who will definitely run for it. And on the left side, we have also, it's difficult because now we, as you know, we have François Hollande, which is socialist, and it's difficult to replace a leader of coalition just after his first term. So it's difficult to talk about a presidential election for Anne Hidalgo or for Nathalie Kosciusko-Morizet right now.
Steve Jourdain, thank you very much. Alain Picus, same to you.
Thank you, Jacob.
The American First Lady Michelle Obama is in China, Beijing, and the Chinese seem to be very excited. We say hello to our correspondent in Beijing, Nofrat Porat. Hello, Nofrat.
Good evening, Jacob.
How was the reception there?
Michelle Obama indeed arrived here to Beijing. She's arrived on a beautiful blue sky day. No pollution at all.
Oh.
Some say this is not by accident that the skies are greeting her, and actually in China, believe it or not, it's possible to
Really?
control. She's arrived with both her daughters, her mother, the nuclear family. This is something that means a lot to Chinese people here. And in Beijing, in their four-day tour in Beijing, she's going to be accompanied by China's First Lady. She's unofficial First Lady, Peng Liyuan. And she's going to show her around the Forbidden City. They're going to go to schools, talking about empowerment of students, continuing a flow of students between China and the U.S.
Now, somebody's missing, obviously, the president. Is this an official visit or semi-official?
Well, this is Michelle Obama's first visit to China. She's not accompanied by her husband. It is an official trip. But actually, it's about talking about education. That's the official line in the government. Building relationships, leader relationships between the countries. As these are huge countries, it's quite interesting to see it unfold. Michelle Obama, she's quite known in her own country. She's glamorous. She's a big personality. And here, Peng Liyuan, China's first lady, who up until not many years ago was very famous here in China for her own accords. She's a big singer, but as her husband raced through the forces here in China, she kind of took a back seat to let him shine, as he's now the president. But her coming to the front line, meeting Michelle Obama, means a lot. It humanizes for the Chinese, it humanizes their government. And for the American, it builds ties. This is soft politics in motion, seeing the government and the people actually coming together.
Right, and this is before the big meeting that is coming up.
Obama and Xi Jinping are due to meet next week in the Netherlands. So this is completely different. There they're going to be in a summit, they're going to be talking politics. Here, this is all about relationships.
Nofrat Porat in Beijing. Thank you very much. Thanks. Well, Harvard scientists came up with the strongest proof yet of the Big Bang Theory, the beginning of the universe. We spoke with Professor Abraham Labe, who chairs the Department of Astronomy at Harvard. He is an Israeli-born scientist, and of course he followed this experiment closely in his department. So we say hello to you, Professor Labe.
Hi, nice to speak with you.
What have we learned this week, Professor?
Yeah, so the discovery that was announced yesterday relates to the first detection of gravitational waves, which are ripples in space-time that were predicted by Einstein's theory of gravity. This is the first time they were detected directly, and the source of the gravitational waves is the very early universe. A split of a second after the Big Bang, there was a period of inflation where the universe went through vast expansion. And during that time, ripples in space-time were produced. And we see the effects of those ripples on the cosmic microwave background, the radiation relic from the Big Bang, that was produced much later, and the detection was done by state-of-the-art instruments that were placed at the South Pole by my colleague here at Harvard, John Kovac, a professor in the astronomy department that I'm chairing. And they had this discovery has enormous implications to cosmology, to studies of the universe, and also to fundamental physics.
Right. Well, can you take us to the moment when you realized that you have something tangible in your hands, a discovery, a real one?
Yeah, so this was about 6 months ago when John Kovac described his latest results to me. He is a very careful observer, and they went through many cross-checks to verify the validity of this signal, and he was very hesitant as to whether to report about it because, of course, the risk is high, the stakes are very high. In my view, if this result is confirmed, then he's very likely to get a Nobel Prize in the near future. This result will have implications to studies of the early universe, but also to the unification, to theories of involving the unification of gravity and quantum mechanics.
So what's next? What would be the one thing you would have to discover in order to be happy again?
Well, of course, we would like to know what was there before the Big Bang. That seems very difficult for us to figure out at this time. I would like actually another question that we can in principle answer is whether there is life outside the Earth.
Right.
That's not related to this discovery, but it's one of the topics that is of very much interest to me and to the general public. And we know now that there are many planets just like the Earth around other stars, and the question is, do they have life on them? And I would very much like to know the answer to that during my lifetime.
Yeah, well, same with us. Thank you very much and good luck. Thank you, Professor Labe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And did you know there was an international organization of freezing water swimmers? Yeah, we will speak to one of them. He just travels the world, swimming in frozen lakes and seas. His name is Ram Barkai, and he recently finished a swim in the frozen waters of Antarctica. Ram is joining us from South Africa. Hello, Ram.
Hi, Jacob. How are you?
I'm fine. How was the swim in Antarctica?
It was a little bit cold. I'm sitting just outside in my office. I'm sitting in my office by the beach in Cape Town. It's 30 degrees, so outside it's very difficult to imagine what it was like in Antarctica.
Yeah. Well, you are a part of a group who does this. Why and how?
I've been doing this for about 10 years in various places around the world. Antarctica was obviously one of the pinnacle point of my life. Always wanted to go back. I started International Ice Swimming Association in 2009 or 8. The rules are that you have to wear a Speedo, goggles, and one silicone cap, nothing else. You're not allowed to touch anything. You get into water and you swim. You can't really swim very far south in Antarctica because it's a huge ice continent. The water temperature was about minus 1.1 degree.
Oh.
I swam about 1.2 kilometer. I wanted to swim more, but we had a very strong current, head current, which slowed me down a lot. And swimming in ice water is about time spent in the water. You got to be careful not to spend too much time in the water. So I only swam for about 30 minutes, which is okay.
Yeah, well, you make it sound simple. It's dangerous. Plus, you're going to catch a cold, you know.
I think like any extreme sport, although it looks very dangerous from the outset, there's a huge amount of planning, research, training. You've got to prepare for eventualities, and when they happen, you've got to react.
Right. Well, Ram Barkai, formerly from Israel, now from South Africa. Thank you very much. Stay warm. Thanks.
Thanks very much. It was a pleasure. Say bye to Israel.
And this has been The World This Week. We'll see you here next Sunday. Have a good week.